Communicating with the people of the afterlife?
I don't know.
I'm sorry. I thought he was trying to communicate with you.
Well, maybe he is.
Can you look? He keeps waving at us. Obviously, he can hear us. We can't hear him. It's all good. It's all good. Please continue on. I'm sorry for the interruption. I was distracted by their hand gestures.
Oral presentations worth 100 points. Website. Every team, most of them have a website that they built and put up and kind of explain themselves. And that's worth 30 points. That's interesting. Every member of every team, and actually a lot of the audience, went upstairs, looked at all the different websites of the different teams, ranked them, gave them points. There we go. Yeah, we got the RoboBus coming. And then the videos that you've been seeing at the beginning of each mission, like we saw the RoboBus, that's worth up to 20 points. So there's been, it's not just there's typewriter repairman, 270 points. So out of 285, so that's going to be, I think that's going to be a very high score by the end of the night. We'll see.
As mentioned before, they won last year, and I kind of tease them about how smart they are. They're way up there. I expect some other teams to possibly give them a challenge to that, but I'm not going to comment on that right now.
Yeah.
Coffee? No, would coffee?
I have coffee.
Muchas gracias, pero es muy difícil para mí para beber café.
If you look at that debris in front, that's a little seaweed. You know, it's not as easy as it looks.
Seaweed. Glowing in a chlorine. Oh wait, no, it's right. What ocean are we in right now?
You got me. It looks like we're looking down at the ROV, but obviously it's a camera held by one of the scuba divers.
I think actually one of the locks of Scotland, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
Loch Lomond, I might be. Or Loch Ness.
We're in the wrong lock. We picked the wrong lock. What we don't see in most of these videos, because they're very careful to try to stay out of the camera view, is the scuba divers. We have we have 4 scuba divers, I think. They take turns underwater. They have to reset the props and all of that, and they're down there in case there's anything does fall or they have to bring back an ROV. What's interesting is the Carl Hayden group. A lot of them are scuba certified. They have a marine science magnet at Carl Hayden. And it was a couple of years ago, a couple of kids said, hey, we'd love to do that. We'll put on the tanks. We're certified. And Coach Freddie says, you can't do it. He says, well, why not? We're scuba certified. Why can't we do it? Why can't we do it? He says, you're not night certified for scuba. Wow. So they have to be night qualified because they're diving in the dark.
Oh, man, that's so bad. Well, it gets so dark down there when you get these lower depths. It's hard to see. Example, in Antarctica, we were doing a lot of work underneath the Ross Ice Shelf, and it's just this big. When you're down below, it looks like this big white kind of, I would say like a fluorescent kind of appearance. But when you start getting down about 1,000 feet, it starts getting dark down there. It gets hard to see what you're doing, even during the daytime. And man, talk about stuff in the water. There's things floating around there. It looks like, with all due respect, it looks like someone vomited, and it's like this long, like pieces like intestines or like multicolored like things that are look like snot connected together. And what it is, it's like some form of like life form that's floating in the water, which it's like a form of kind of a sea. I think it's like plant based and with bacteria. And if you reach down to get that on your hand, you just like ugh. And it won't come off. It just sticks.
It clings to you?
Well, it's like kind of gooey. Like in the Arctic, for example. You look on the bottom, the ice will break, and you'll see this like little kind of mini icebergs, and it'll flip over, and there'll be all this gross stuff stuck to the bottom of it, which is like some kind of sea plant life. And well, you guys see it, but you don't want to touch it.
I think I have a refrigerator like that when I was in college.
That's exactly what it looks like.
Have they begun their mission now?
Yes, they have. Do we have a time clock up there where they are in their mission timeline?
That's when they show it up to occasionally. That green, the oscilloscope type thing, radar scope. So they're.
Yeah, Mark and I forgot to note the time when this started, but.
These are the only things they didn't get. It's okay.
Hey, Alan, when you can reach the robot, try to get the bait box.
I can explain that to somebody.
That's the points for finding they didn't get the 10 points for control for movement and turning. I think they dropped it to the bottom. They didn't get
Okay, I can't quite read the time because of the title of it. What does that look like? 12 minutes 29? Oh yeah, there is
That's right,
12:27. Yeah,
About almost
12:27, and they get
a
35.
little,
So
a little bit more than third way into it.
yeah.
Interesting. One of the things that the cover repairman didn't get a score was they didn't get the correct reading of the. I guess they said the digital time clock. I know that the clock did not seem to be changing.
temperature,
Yeah,
yeah.
that may be controversial later. We'll see what they say.
Well, the good news, the bad news is if it doesn't work, it doesn't work for everyone. But it's kind of disappointing if you have the temperature sensor that you built or whatever you were hoping to score the points or prepare to do.
I guess they could have.
Okie dokie.
Okie dokie dokie dokie.
Okay.
Para las personas que están mirando en Latina de América, yo creo que las personas de Colombia que están mirando esto ahora, somos muchos alegres que ustedes están participando con nosotros y yo espero que usted tiene un tiempo muy fina. And so I was just saying hello to our friends in Colombia. I know for a fact that some of them are watching this broadcast tonight. And some of them speak English, most of them speak Spanish. So that was just greeting them and telling them hello.
Speaking of a foreign language, my wife and I did get to go to Scotland a couple of years ago, and we did a bunch of hiking up in northern Scotland, and you run into people that speak Scottish Gaelic and they don't speak English. And it was like, you felt like you just backed up 500 years.
I'm going to have to comment. I've actually been to Loch Ness, and I've been to Loch Lomond. I spent some time in Scotland. I found Scottish people, and no offense if there's anyone from Scotland listening right now, whose accent was so strong that even though they were speaking English, I needed a translator. I really couldn't understand what they were saying. And it's just, the dialect of English has many swings, and that's one direction where I just couldn't recover. And I felt bad. I asked them to speak more slowly, and that only made it worse. So you go to Scotland, bring a translator. If they speak Gaelic, you might have a better chance of translating that language and understanding what you're saying in English. Because when they translate it, all they can do is they can just say the word again the way they say it. They can't really say it in English the way we understand it, if that makes any sense. If it does make sense, it makes good nonsense, and nothing else to do the math.
So what were you doing in Scotland? Was that part of NASA thing, or was that vacation?
My first wife was transfer British and Canadian. And so we went all through Scotland and all the England places. And it was quite, I've been all over the world. Most of my travels in the world have been due to NASA. In the late 80s, we put in the high-speed internet connections into Europe, into Germany and Italy and England and Holland and Germany. And France, and that was a great education. 2 weeks we went all over Europe. We learned a lot of things, and it was really interesting working with the different nationalities. And what this is an example of, we talk about space flight, is you really have to be in an international theater. So for those of you out there, I know there's one of the ladies on one of the teams speaks Chinese quite well. She was correcting my Chinese earlier. My Chinese is very bad. I learned like 4 or 5 words. But these students are so brilliant. It's really, you take it for granted because they are also proficient in the math and they're so, well educated that you tend to think this is the norm for the United States, and it's not. It's far from the norm. As you go out there and you develop your education, I really want to encourage you to work your right brain and learn another language. Take the arts. If you have the left and right brain firing on both cylinders, it's truly amazing what you can do. There's the math, but then there's also the arts. And believe it or not, back in the Greek times, the math was actually considered as part of the arts. The humanities and things like that in their education. But it is a different brain function than the right brain and the left brain. Put your left brain up, put your right brain up.